Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL, officially unofficial, bringing you the LJL Academy season, day number 1, halfway through, Master 1, now joined by Melvin Izzle. Hello sir, welcome.
I'm excited for some somewhat jank games, is the expectation I'm coming in with, and that's always a fun time.
The expectation is always, it begins jank, but the play improves very drastically as the days go on. That's what Scouting Grounds taught me, so I'm expecting that the same. We've seen some suspicious play so far, but we've also seen some very good play as well. And I want to just give them credit when it's worthwhile. But coming into this matchup, Melvin Izzle, we've got Detention FocusMe facing off against the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming, and DFM have already lost once today. If we can bring those rosters up.
Take a look down here and take a look at some of the players. Are any of these names familiar outside of the game that we've seen this morning to you? Because obviously this is going to be a lot of me asking you questions and trying to get any kind of history on people.
Yeah, so DFM are the only roster that we've actually seen before, and honestly, they're also the only team that I've actually seen anything from before. So Van has been a youth high school player, played with Shakespeare and Primo. So like they've got some experience. Ari is that 16-year-old phenomenon that it's important to watch this because we've seen phenomenons, let alone in the LJL. Over on the side of the Hawks, I don't know any of these players, and I'm not even lying to you. I genuinely saw the announcement that came out 12 hours ago from the Hawks and from the official LJL account, and I was like, I have no idea who any of these players are. So we're going into this one real blind, Melvin Izzle. How do you feel about that?
Outstanding. This is great. I am more than happy to just talk about the game and then build up a profile for these players as we go along, because it sounds like that's the kind of deal that we've got going, especially when...
But what about it? We're on day number 1 doing this. We're building it from the beginning.
And by the end of the week, you'll look at these players and be able to go, wow, this is their kind of personality. This is how they play. We've got an actual picture of it. Or it's going to be V3 stomping everybody, and then we all go, maybe somebody takes a game.
Well, I don't know. Chris Game looked pretty good against DFM in their first showing, and they only had to show 1 game today, so we'll have to see. Though DFM and Van, who I already highlighted and was like, oh yeah, this guy's really good. Man's like a Camille main, a Set main, a Maud main, a Volley Bear main, Renekton,
these are all good
Silas, Lane Lee Sin. He played a lot of that. His first game was lane J4.
Okay, now it has to be said, we are on patch 11.16.
Sure.
Java did get a buff on this patch.
He did.
Is something to note, could come up again. I had seen a little video on it, however, it was talking about exhaust teleport Java, and I believe that was a flash teleport Java that we had in the game, though.
Was that our producer saying that we've got pick and ban phase to save us from this misery? Can we? Yes, we're in the pick and ban phase. I have no idea, Melvin Izzle, what we're going to be doing, but DFM are going to be on blue side, Hawks on the red side. Coach Fly for the Hawks, Gim Misu for DFM, and that's also a coach that does also do assistant coaching for the main roster, so there's experience there.
That is going to be important, especially in pick and ban. This is one of the areas where academy leagues and anything realistically outside of main leagues usually lacks, because if you don't have a good infrastructure for what you're actually picking, you're going to get janky comps that don't have inherent synergy. And to be fair, saying that, not even all the pro teams around the world have that going for them, so it is an easy to slip up process, as we do get that Lane Lee Sin banned along with Java being taken off the table.
I mean, DFM was so scared of when Van played it. They were like, we can't give it over. But you know what did make it out through this one? And something that was banned by DFM in their first rotation. It's that LeBlanc, and they've got it. Important ones of note, though, that are still up. Viego is still up. Thresh is still up. Syndra is still up. These are some high priority champions on this patch. And these are champions that DFM didn't get the opportunity to see in the previous game. So I'm very interested to see the direction we go.
I think you missed an important one. Kane is still up right there. We may see them reprise their Kane from the previous game, as we do get that Viego locked in straight away. Is going to make a lot of sense. It's very powerful on the patch. Super good when paired with the LeBlanc, so it's a good takeaway even at that. Now, because we have so many unknowns going around for the Hawks side, it's going to be a case of seeing what they end up picking, and we don't even know necessarily if DFM know what they're looking at right now, so this is even more interesting.
I mean, just draft comfort, right, and pick it out. For some reason, though, we're getting some interesting draft order. DFM just want to lock in a very big power bot lane. And you know what? I was a bit suspicious of the Aphelios. The moment the Thresh, I'm sold. DFM, I'm all right with it. I don't mind just drafting blindly when you don't have all the critical information and you can draft something so broken as this. This is premier, honestly, for DFM. Hawks, the Viego's pretty good, but this last few picks of the Victor isn't quite what I was expecting.
See what they round it out with before we give them any too definitive opinions. That's an Echo rounding it out okay then. So that is... Yeah, top Echo, I would assume. It could be potentially Victor going up there, or in a really weird world, we could have the Victor going bot lane, but this is something we're not going to realistically try and put too much thought into until roles are confirmed, because when you look at how strong Aphelios Thresh is, one of the reasons you can pick it here when you have such a good mid laner like LeBlanc who can roam, have pressure on the side lane. Now, as the Hawks, you have to pick a good bot lane, but the issue is, you've locked in your entire top side with that Victor maybe being up in the air, so now DFM gets 2 counter picks. So they've effectively won both sides, because it's really difficult to find anything that can handle the Aphelios Thresh, especially when DFM now get to ban out anything they don't want to play against.
We did just get out, I just got outed, and you by proxy, Melvin Izzle, by our admin Chimo, who's just pinged me, reminded me, we've got LeBlanc picked. This is DFM. Shaco.
Stop it.
I mean, if the Academy player doesn't do it, I'm gonna be very disappointed. We need to see their best Aria cosplay. Like, I'm giving credit to Middlecop for that one. That was a good joke.
I'm going to hope that that's not the case, because I've had enough of Shaco. Also, they don't have the Rakan, which is particularly good with it. But now we get to see, with that, Trundle and Olaf banned away by the Hawks and the Blitzcrank Leona taken away. Alistair's still on the table, Rel's still on the table, the Samira is locked in for the Hawks, so we're expecting another one of these wombo combo supports to go with it. And now the question for DFM is, you've had a while to think, what counter picks are you taking into this Echo and Viego?
Well, Set's never a bad idea. He never has an awful matchup at this moment in time currently in the metagame, so I don't mind it, especially when you're just going, well, it's either against a Viego or an Echo. The Set's fine into both of these. It doesn't have a particularly winning one. I would have liked to seen a Jace, if you actually ask me what I'd love to see, but we haven't got that. Tom Kench.
Froggers?
Wait, so that's Set jungle? Wait, how did this draft go from so good to so bad so quickly?
Set jungle hasn't been good for a little while.
No,
it lost a lot of the ability to take the jungle, and especially when it pivoted to clear the jungle very quickly, about halfway through last year, Set has fallen off in priority ever since. There is a very unlikely world where this is Tahm Kench jungle, which I can tell you after trying it is not good. So I'm hoping that's not the case either, but we will see very quickly. I imagine it will be the Set going in the jungle, despite being quite odd. It does have the option to disengage. The ultimate's still useful. Always going to have that kind of utility, but looking at this one, I think that somehow the Hawks have come out for the better in the latter half of the draft. I don't think that gives them a better comp overall, because all Tahm Kench and Set need to do is be a meat shield for the Aphelios. But even then, it's a bit of an odd latter half.
Yeah, this last rotation around, I would have preferred it if we just seen the Kayn a second time around, quite frankly, with you, Melvin Izzle. It would have. It's just so weird. I was quickly going over my notes and just trying to figure out this Set. He is a Set player in solo queue for the jungle, so this is kind of in their wheelhouse. It's just not something that either of us would have liked to have seen in a vacuum, especially when there are still multiple high tier priority junglers. Diana was still open. Why are you just not picking a Diana in that spot? Like blindly, right? Just for raw power reasons. If you look at objectively, Set versus Diana, jungle, Diana has a good clear. Set doesn't.
It's going to be one of those where we'll have to see the execution, because
100%.
You have really good lane setup. That was one of the things I was just looking at and kind of puzzling at. Okay, Echo can't really escape a gank if they commit forward into a trade. Tahm Kench could hold them still. Mid lane, LeBlanc is LeBlanc. Anybody that ganks a LeBlanc has a good time. Yep. Invading into the Viego in early levels, it's gonna go Viego favored, but if Set finds you at a camp, the fact that they can face breaker you right there and then gets quite awkward, actually. It's one of those champions, a bit like the Ivan, that if you find them at a camp, you actually can just kill them quite quickly. Same thing for the bottom lane. They have Thresh, decent gank setup. Rel, if they are ever dismounted, is a free hook. Aphelios, once they get that Gravitum on the third gun, easy. It's not even something that Samira can dodge away from. So if we do have them going for constant ganks on this set, you know what, it's fine. I can see it working, but it just will not scale anything close to what this Viego will.
My only concern for DFM, realistic with this team composition, is so much reliance is put on Ree and Marimo. Like, if both of these players, or if either of them have a pretty difficult game or just get kind of shut out of this game, it's going to be really hard for DFM to actually have the catch-up mechanics. They do have scaling, but I mean, it's only really the Aphelios that has the scaling that's built there. Hawks have a way better mid to late game in my eyes, and if one of the two carries for DFM gets taken out, that's a lot of the stunted power that can be from DFM. I don't know what are your vibes on that?
One of my biggest issues is I look at the LeBlanc and then I look at the point and click CC on the opposition, and I see Viego's W as something quick. I see Rel's E, which is something quick. Outside of that, nothing else can stop Ree from going for quick trades, getting poked down onto this Victor, onto this Samira, because even with the Bladewell, that doesn't stop them getting the double distortion onto your face. So that is something that later on we may see be quite significant, because even if you look at the counter side of it and say, okay, but the Hawks can engage, they have an Echo, they have Victor, both of these champions make the Aphelios very sad, because you can just jump on them from far away, makes them completely incapable of walking into an objective, but they have a Thresh and a Tahm Kench. So you don't actually get to kill them in a team fight in most situations. The Aphelios will be the last to hit the ground.
It's going to be very interesting how some of these larger team fights are played out. Obviously, if the side of DFM can find a pick pretty early on, we're going to be great, but we're going on to Summoner's Rift, Melvin Izzle, for your first game of LJL Academy. Welcome, sir. Debut game. Who are you favoring?
I'm going to favor the Hawks in this one, and I think that's because later on the side lane pressure is going to prove a bit too much against DFM, because this Echo can just roam to mid lane a lot quicker than the Tahm Kench can. You're going over the walls more frequently. The Abyssal Dive is going down to, I think, something like a 15-second cooldown later on, which is fine, but you actually would get to the lane faster by just walking and then using it as the gank. So I think that if Ricky has a good performance here, it's going to be quite the nuisance. We actually see them going for the grasps. They're going for almost this tank Echo, which is what they really dominated on when this champion first came out. Hasn't been a thing since then, though.
No, and I'm really surprised, because Electrocute is like pretty much the known and only option really on Echoes. So interesting what kind of dark magic Ricky is playing with. The other one I want to highlight is Netsui on this set. I was expecting Predator, honestly speaking. The fact that we got Conqueror, what do you think is up with that? They're trying to be the extra damage carry, maybe?
Well, this means that they want to commit to longer skirmishes, so I think they should be invading more often, or specifically ganking bot lane and top lane, because you don't get Conqueror value ganking a Victor with a LeBlanc, because they either die or they don't die to the gank. The Conqueror isn't making a big difference, so you want to be getting into long skirmishes, getting in there first. You do have the Thresh for gank setup, so I can see it happening. The top lane, to a lesser extent. However, there is a funky little interaction that I don't think I've seen used in pro play yet, where because Tahm Kench can now eat you with the ultimate and then dive in, he can take you the whole way and spit you out with a shield. So they could eat the set, jump them into the backline, and that is the world's slowest insect maneuver. But that would give you value of the Conqueror, because you would be in the middle of a team fight. Victor, very upset in this situation. Samira's not going to be too happy about it. So it's a thing that's on the table later on.
I mean, against a team that hasn't got huge mobility, I mean, obviously there is a phase rush on this Victor, so trying to deal with him early is going to be pretty difficult, and finding a gank on that, I'm guessing that's also another reason why they might have not gone for the Predator on this set, just because, hey, ganking mid and top is probably going to be pretty difficult, and, well, I mean, bot lane, you're kind of relying on Thresh to get a hook and a lantern to really set up for this set, so is going to be interesting locations. You're not going to get anything in this top lane though, most likely.
Not pre-6. At that point when we can have Van threaten the Devour and try and keep Ricky still, that gives you enough time to close the gap. Now this is going to be the important part because Wasteland has got mid lane priority, so there should be a double scuttle, which is really not what you want, because one of the few camps Set can clear quite easily is the Scuttle Crab, because they have immediate CC. And now they are going to have to path all the way to the bot side, but as it looks to be on the minimap, it is an even lane state right now for for both teams, but the Aphelios Thresh should be the ones getting the push in, so we'll need to see if they can get that done quick enough to help Nisui actually get to this crab.
But there's a level disparity between these two junglers, so actually it just makes no sense for Netsui to even remotely attempt to even fight over this. And also, what's important is this bot lane didn't get the lane priority that you are mentioning. Mid still kept it, and there was a lot of concern for Ree that they potentially would just die to Wasteland at any moment. So double Scuttle Crab, full clear except for Golems. Pretty good spot for Viego for going for their first bat, whereas this set didn't miss it, actually had to go to their Golems and is going to be resetting a little bit later.
If this gank does not get off for the Hawks, then it can be okay for DFM.
Going into the miss, running around, the stun does land onto it. A bit of damage going on from this Samira, but only an auto attack, and then they just reset. Charlie never get anything, but the hook just came out through. Huge damage coming through from this Aphelios, but then the Devil Trigger gets popped, and 1, 2, 3 dash from Samira, and this is why Honey played it in the LJL for Academy, for everybody. Guess what? We're returning to the Queen herself. The Daredevil will reign supreme, and Hawks will get that first blood.
I think that was a bit of a self-bait right there for the bot lane of DFM. They were out of the play, got the hook, it looked really good, but as you can see right here, they kind of just got a bit overzealous. They had already done a great job getting away from the gank. The Flay stops any actual damage landing onto this bot lane through the Guardian Shield. But watch, this is a really sick hook. However, you don't have your jungler down here because they had already committed to walking up to Raptors, and well, you knew the Viego was right there within flash range, so it was just a bit overzealous from the DFM bot lane. Otherwise, was a really good escape from a gank, but because they committed back to it, what's happened now on the map is we get a level 5 Viego about to hit the base and probably purchase a Sheen and whatever, but the set managed to actually catch up in farm by clearing through the entire jungle that has just respawned, so inadvertently helped out their jungler, but as you can see by the gold, it didn't realistically help out the team.
Yeah, and something I want to mention about that miscommunication that we that happened in that bot lane play is the Aphelios wanted to walk forward, whereas the Thresh was actually behind their AD carry. Threshes are rarely ever in a lane state actually behind their AD carry. So it was an important thing that the Thresh was like, I'm landing this hook, but I'm not doing anything with it because I'm not going to jump to them. I'll die if I do that. We don't have the numbers because that Viego hasn't disappeared far enough. I'm just landing this hook. The Aphelios ran forward, and I wonder if that's just not being sure on the play, the decision they want to make. But a hook to just land. This Thresh is looking for something. Aphelios is looking for something. They can do it with their Graviton, but they're not going to make it. This set is just going to pop into this bush, and they're going to try and see if they can find something. They're moving forward slowly. Flayed back. One of them, that's the Graviton being popped. The flash was popped, and now the Facebreaker came out, and they're just going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing it, and they actually get both of them. Samira down. That's a double kill over onto Netsui.
A little bit of psychological warfare happening in that bot lane. They got a really good hook initially, and then didn't throw the lantern back, which means that as the Hawks, when you look at that, you go, okay, so they haven't actually just jumped bot lane. They don't have a jungler here. It was a good hook, but they put a bit of fear of God in them, and then they walk back, run it back again, because they had that ward on the other side of them, so they knew the Hawks haven't left. They're still here. This Rel is in the bush, so everybody can just converge on them. They have 3 CC abilities at that point in time. Just a dead bot lane. Well done, has recovered themselves, and once again, Netsui has timed that with their jungle respawning, so they get to path back through and actually keep tempo on this set, which is impressive, considering they are against Viego, who's one of the fastest clearing junglers in the game.
Yeah, and Viego is actually pretty good against the set, but we've come into this replay, and how does it really pan out so perfectly? Because you mentioned this hook already.
And well, they bait the bush because they've cleared the ward, and normally whenever somebody scries a ward in the bot lane, you go, we're being ganked, guys, we have to back off. But because they don't hard commit there and then, it doesn't give it away. So now they're able to collapse that flash face breaker, was really good, managed to hold both of them still. And as you can see here, it's just damage between 3 people. Set does have a lot of base damage, especially at this point in the game. So it was just a well-played maneuver by the DFM bot lane. And it's not one that I'm upset at the Hawks for falling for, because they executed on it really well.
Yeah, just DFM were able to keep that going. They were able to get that dragon, and now they're also going to be getting first Rift Herald. So DFM, this is a pretty good difference between your first game and the second game. Game number 1, you lost all the mutual objectives, and Crest Gaming Act were completely controlling you. In this one, you seem to have got some of that rust off, and you're feeling a lot more comfortable. Ree hasn't had the greatest time in this mid lane, but guess what? DFM are going to be able to get that lane priority. They escorted their bot lane around, and they got that Rift Herald. So some extra gold as well for this set. It's going to be really important to get that first mythic coming through. I imagine it's going to be that gore drinker if this is the direction we're going with. And then from there on, where can they keep applying this pressure? Because guess what? The gold is absolutely identical right now. The only advantage for either of these teams at the moment is that dragon.
And what I want to see DFM do is use this Rift Herald to accelerate your bot lane, because if they're ahead and they can take over the mid lane, then that means that you could put Ree in a side lane with Wasteland. And in that situation, LeBlanc will have a much better time, because as long as they're in mid, it's a short lane. Wasteland can always run back to tower. They are confident, they are safe. Their jungler is never too far away from them. When they are sat bot lane or sat top lane with a dead tower, it's a lot more of a dangerous situation, especially when Van is in the game on this Tahm Kench. They could abyssal dive gank you. You could be flanked by the set, Thresh and whatnot. So it just means that by proxy, the CS gap will close over time, because you aren't allowed to walk up to the farm, where Ree is never really going to be in danger in a side lane.
No, sadly though, because Wasteland has had this early game win in the laning phase, he actually forced Ree to do a pretty bad back, didn't have a teleport, so couldn't TP back into the lane, lost another wave as well. So Wasteland really showing that they have the prowess in the laning phase at the moment, at least when it concerns himself against Ree at the moment. So going to be exciting to see how a player like Ree does improve over time, because this is something very drastic that you just play the replay files and go, don't do something like this, play something like this. And this is something where a positional coach it's worth its weight in gold to help develop talents and get them transitioning very early on from this laning phase. And this is what we're going to be seeing, ladies and gentlemen. This talent is going to be growing very quickly. But if you look at it, we've got a Thresh here. We know the Lantern play. We know the hook play, and they're just going to be feeding for it, fishing for it. But they first need to clear out through this wave. Red gun, blue gun, the Thresh, the Lantern's there. The flash came out. The huge one came out. Samira prevented it with the wall. But guess what? There's a lot of damage coming out. The hook was missed. The box thrown down. And Rel is going to be the sacrificial lamb throughout all of it.
Not the best mechanically executed play, but again, winning on the psychological front. Normally when a jungler shows up to a bot lane, they will instantly run it down and give away the gimmick. What they've done here from DFM is bait out teleport as well, but we do have a counterplay onto the top side.
Yeah, TP came out with that bot side. We did see the jungler try and do something, but the echo bubble missed, and then there was no sun, no shield even out, and that's a gore drinker now for this set, who is hyper ahead and maybe one of the richest people on Summoner's Rift right now.
Let's take a look at how it actually went down, because they had stood around for a while, get the exhaust onto Samira. The hook goes a bit wide, otherwise this could have turned into a double kill. But they still get the first, they get to place the Rift Herald, and they get the TP, so it's a win for DFM nonetheless. Especially because it means that in the mid lane, Ree was able to get some push onto the minions and stop falling further and further behind on this CS deficit. It's one of the benefits of playing to a singular lane, is you draw pressure from the enemy team, which helps your other ones. It removes that kind of pressure that's being put on them. As I'm just going to throw it out there, it may be a Grasp the Undying Echo, but they are still building full AP.
Yeah, they're going for it. I'm guessing this grass was just for the sustaining phase, potentially, between the exchanges that they were going to have to deal with this Tahm Kench, as the Hawks rather cleanly just take this dragon, and they are trading an objective in this mid lane. But guess what, DFM, while you are getting gold, and oh my god, a Rift Herald that actually does something. Sorry, it's been a whole game where I got to see two Rift Heralds.
I saw that bit, yeah.
Swing and a miss. At least the gold has gone over, and guess what? Netsui able to put some gold back into Re, try and get this LeBlanc a little bit back more into this game, and that's a decent chunk of change. That almost makes up for about 10 CS, just one turret, well, no, 5 CS. 5 CS, one turret plate alone, sharing that gold. That's something that helps him get back. You don't have the experience, but I don't think the experience department was really where Re was lacking at this moment in time. Ricky, you do look rather unsubstantial when it comes to health bars, though, when you compare yourself to Van's Tahm Kench. Geez, Tahm Kench has such high base health. Wow.
When you're in the early game, nobody can take it to Tahm Kench. No. It's just one of those champions where the stats are too high. Currently, they know that Marimo is there, and they have a ward ability to TP for Ricky if there is the option to flank, but I think it won't be scryed out, actually. That one will stay there for another 20 seconds or so, so if this play goes long, keep an eye out.
Yeah, a lot of damage coming out through this. They go, oh my god, the magnet chain, this face breaker coming in, huge showstopper. Oh, and they're just going to keep pushing and pushing and going. But guess what? That's a reset coming out for this Viego, and it ends up currently being, that's a big amount from Ree. He wasn't able to find it though. And now the two sides, Wasteland though coming in. Can they bait enough? And Netsui's pretty deep into there. How low does go there? And now if we turn around, that's going to be a reset for this Viego. More resets, more prizes. That's a huge amount of damage. Reset does go through. Passive proc Ree, you're on your own. That's the face breaker, and they get one more. Wow, Hawks, you turned that one around from a situation that looked absolutely dire with two members running away with no health. Actually ended up being a 4-for-1 for them. Oh no, 3-for-1. 3-for-1. Ah, it was almost perfect cast. Ah, I'm so bad.
That's okay, because in the meantime, Ricky actually did try to go for the TP, and it got cancelled by Van, who just jumped at them on the tower and then walked away after. I'm curious to see if we'll get in the replay, but keep your eye on the minimap in about 5 seconds time. But you'll see here, they don't spot the Viego, so they get to go for the initial part of the play. It's just a bit of skirmishing. This Divine Sunder are very effective. Massive Magnet Storm. There's the TP coming in, and it gets interrupted on the side. So now the numbers are a lot more in favor for the Hawks, considering this Viego counts for like 3 people at this point. Every time they get a reset, that is another rotation of abilities, so it's basically another person here. And we see that on the side, they do flash to go kill the Samira, but now everybody is just stuck, herded by this Victor, no ability to escape through the ultimate or the gravity field, and it just means that they're both going to die at the end of it. And you saw that giant shutdown going over to the Viego. I would love to click on the gold at some point, but I guarantee you they have got another full item coming up very soon.
Oh, 100%. Divine Sunder now coming in also for this Viego. There was a lot of gold that just got funneled all over, and now look at this Viego, 400 gold for shutdown on them. And I really like how you ended that as well with that Victor, because I didn't realize during when I was actually doing the play-by-play for it that the Victor was actually zoning so hard. That's why like multiple members of DFM couldn't escape. That alone kind of saved and rectified so much of how that play ended up going. And the fact is, Hawks are actually ahead now in this game.
It is going to be the Cloud Soul this game with 1 dragon apiece. So nobody's really going to win off of base stats.
In a row. Ooh. 3 Cloud Souls. Ugh.
Yeah, sometimes we just have days like that. There's nothing you can do. But we do have, taking a look at the game state, like you said there, the Hawks do have a minor lead. The thing that I want to look at is how it translates to itemization. We do now have a stopwatch on the Viego, which is a very important one because buying time to get that reset, similar case with the Samira, if either of these champions ever get to pop off in a fight, we saw it right there in the bottom lane, it's over. Anko Chan killed like 4 people in a row just off of ulting on, using their abilities to lower the next person. It's exactly the Viego fantasy of what you're trying to go for in these fights, and they got to do it in one of these streamed games, which is even more impressive.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact is, the Hawks are going to have to try and find a way to kind of reactivate their top laner because this Echo has just been quietly brawling against the Tahm Kench. And I would argue that is probably Tahm Kench favored. Whereas when we come into this team fight, it's going to be important to see how we do it because this is probably going to be our first 5v5, except both mid and top are trying to find the flank. At the moment, Ricky has found the flank on DFM, but Van is standing there as the guard of Mordor defending at the door. Hold the door. There's an engage though coming out. Netsui is jumped away, but he has a lantern he can jump to. It's fine. They're just going to pop the Rift Herald and now they're going to rotate back around on this dragon. They're like, hey, we can take this. No one's here on the side of the Hawks. Well, that they know that Echo though bubble coming through. They'll be aware that though that he's there now. He'll be aware that he's somewhere around. But DFM, you just don't have the vision. The pause has gone out.
Okay.
What could be the pause there, unless it was something to do with the Rift Herald? But the Rift Herald went down fine in my eyes.
Not sure, but what we do have here is one of the most awkward places to pause because you're just sat in front of a team fight with everybody staring at each other like violence will be here.
Yes, and you're not allowed to talk to one another as well. So it's just like, and remember, for a lot of these players, this is the first professional game they've ever played in their lives.
So professional pause. Wow.
Yeah, like they're going to be coming into this like for the side of the Hawks. This is their first ever professional game. Like DFM got at least 2 hours ago. For the Hawks, they came in. They're about to go into this dragon fight. Pause. Don't talk. I would be freaking out right now if I was them. Thankfully, I'm not them. I'm me, and I'm with you, Melvin, as well. And I can keep talking, so I feel fine.
One of the things that will make them feel a bit more fine, at least for the Hawks, is they did just see that parallel convergence go down on the Dragon. It's about a 20-second cooldown at this point in the game, so if they look for a very speedy fight now, instantly engaging onto DFM, I can see them taking it. However, I don't know if they really have the tools to go for that. When you look at the things that are on the opposition, you're facing down these kind of champions that don't realistically have that kind of engage that works for them.
They don't, and they are kind of playing at the whims of the Hawks. DFM are kind of in a way that they applied the Rift Herald, right? They threw it down, they got the Scuttle Crab, and now they're kind of awkwardly standing there like they want to take the dragon. Something then happened and someone paused. I'm still trying to figure out why we're pausing, unless like someone's computer like
could be just tech difficulties. It's hard to speculate.
I have to imagine, right? Because unless it's not tech, it's well, it could be for any reason, honestly, but everything looked completely fine. In other news, because we're on here, how you doing, Melvin Izzle?
Fun fact, this is my 200th live cast game, so, you know, that's a little quirky one.
Oh, let's go! That's cool, dude.
We get to do a mini podcast. That's always nice.
Why not? I mean...
But yeah, I'm doing well.
Nice. Well, congratulations on that 200th game. I have no idea what number I'm on, because... LJL, it does that to you. It just does it to you. You know Megamin? You know that player from Axis, right? Man has the highest DPM of last week.
That's... I'm trying to think, what did he play?
Place a guess. He played Ziggs when he got it.
Ah, yeah, okay.
5-minute game.
Yeah, all right. It makes a lot more sense. And I was like, I swear he played a Renekton game. That doesn't seem to... Yeah, okay. I'm going to say he had 650?
1649 as we're back into this game and world records are being destroyed. It looks like DFM are well and truly disengaging off of this for whatever reason. I can't quite see anything on the map, and Hawks just secure it.
Nice.
Okay, I don't know why DFM had just backed off so much. At that point, they looked like they were perfectly set up to go for it. They didn't get it. Second place on the in best week's DPM of last week was Honey. On the Varus game in that same one. So I mean, we're not too surprised that LJL leaded 1 and 2 in that one because yeah, by winning, boys and girls, we are winning 5-5. Dragons currently in the Hawks' favor are getting that first Cloud Drake that came onto the Rift. Very minor gold advantage, but so much. But an advantage that has just come in mythic item has now been completed over on the side of the Hawks for all of their members. No, it's not. It's not their support player. I thought Rel already had it. My apologies. But Van doesn't, so that's where the disparity is. There we go. Double downing.
And it's significant because having that rocket belt on the Echo means that they can try and pop the Immortal Shield Bow that Marimo does have. And just by getting rid of that cooldown, that's a lot of damage from Wasteland. Yeah. It sets up for the Viego reset. Because the thing is, one of the reasons why Divine Sunder is so good on this champion is because ADCs want to build Shield Bow against you so they don't give you a reset. But if he ever does kill you, he gets the Shield Bow passive. Talk about the balance however you will on that one. That's just how it is. And because that's how it is, if you do ever kill this Aphelios, you're probably not going to kill the Aphelios Viego because they just have a second health bar in the pocket while they are this ADC. So it's the kind of thing that when you look at, if Echo kills that Shield Bow cooldown early, it makes it the team fight after way easier. And with a Cloud Soul, with more Cloud Dragons, the ability to jump in, dive in as the Echo, and then just chrono shift out, it means that you can run back that play over and over, which mitigates a lot of the defensive tools DFM want to build up to stop Samira, to stop Viego.
Sure, and absolutely. It could even be used at the very beginning of a team fight to even bait it out, because if you do get to 16 and you have triple Cloud Soul, or triple Cloud Drake into Soul, there's a good chance you could just double Chrono Shift, and that's just winning a team fight. That in just the health alone that you'd be recurring, the fact that you get to deal damage, the fact that everything else is coming along with it, could be the difference maker. We are going to have to see. Something I want to highlight though is the amount of gold that set had for Netsui at the moment. He had over 8k. His mid laner of Ree, 5,400. There is not a surprise in my eye that there was a 2-level disparity between our mid laners. The fact that that's only 1 level, the fact that there was also a 1k gold lead over on for Howla rather. So the side of the Hawks, where their gold is at the moment, is in far better places than, even though DFM have a large amount of gold, it's mostly just funneled onto 1 to 2 players.
Especially when you consider how these fights play out, the amount of auto attacks that we're going to see come out of this set are not going to be that high in a standard team fight, because usually it plays out in a way where you jump in, you get maybe 1 big combo off, and then you can try and chase down the fight if you're already winning. I don't count 3 auto attacks there, which means you don't get the extra move speed from that Bork. So if we do have Wasteland playing these team fights well, zoning the set away, then that itemization isn't actually going to do anything, which further gives Hawks more gold because you've just killed an item off of the enemy team if they never get to hit you.
So what do you think there was a better direction for them to go in? I mean, part of this obviously comes down to the fact that they probably shouldn't have all these kills on them, and it should probably be on the Aphelios.
That's the main part of it, as they can get good skirmishes here, like you see. Oh, that was nice.
I mean, so good that they actually get the stopwatch out from this Viego. They're going to keep finding it. They do hook, but it's onto a Rel, and she gets a 3-man magnet storm. That's a stun coming out, and that's just one of them dead. Ree's already gone, and we were already saying that he was having a difficult time on the Rift against Wasteland. That's an advantage, and guess what? Now the Hawks go, hey, that Baron looks pretty tasty if you ask me, and now DFM have to come in, and this set is so low. You don't really want to have to do this, and look at that. The Samira just ate some fruit, came in, and now the Rel wanted to turn around, and that looks like it's a dead Thresh if you ask me on my screen. And if you asked me as well, the Hawks are going to keep going, and they're going to keep finding. Wasteland is 2 levels above everybody. Van, you might be a very tanky frog, but you're not going to be able to sustain through that, and this Rel wants to go on a charge. She's found that Sui. That's going to be a knock-up. They do go in, and that's going to be a dead set. That's another shutdown going over to them. Hawks are just dominating DFM in every phase that you can imagine it.
I love the musical chairs that happen right there, where the Hawks were saying, okay, we'll bait the Baron. Oh, we baited the Baron? All right, let's kill Thresh. They ran through the mid lane, killed more people. We're like, okay, we'll go take the dragon. As soon as the jungler's dead, it's like, wait a minute, Baron's still alive. Why do we care about a cloud dragon? We're not going to win off of the soul, so we might as well just go get this objective and try and break some towers. Because look at the mini-map. There is 1 standing tower for the outers left of DFM, but outside of that, you could send Wasteland to a side lane, Ricky to a side lane, and you could start collecting on those massive side lane turret gold, 600 apiece. It's ridiculous. That is a double kill per turret if you can pick those up.
Oh, and I think they should just keep pushing as we go into this replay. Melvin Izzle, can you run me through why at the beginning this looks so good for DFM and then it didn't?
It's the Bork. That's why it looks so good, because when you do get extended auto attack trades, you do a lot of damage. But funnily enough, now they don't get to offer anything on the set. And when this Wombo combo comes out, if you ever see Rel Samira get to do that, you should just leave, because it's done. The fight is not winnable from that point. Unless you have a counter Malphite trap card, it's not going to work for you. And the issue is for DFM now, you have a jungler without flash who has to walk to contest this pit. You only have the Tahm Kench and the Thresh to contest. It's a good play, but you can't escape this many dive tools. And that's the real issue with how the Hawks are playing this fight. They're under no threat whatsoever because of how quickly they can turn a fight. And now because Van doesn't run back to the turret, they get chased down. It means that the ADCs just sat there with the short-range weapons. They cannot even look at Wasteland funny. And later on, we saw Nesui die, and they ran back to secure the Baron. Puts us in this awkward spot here for DFM, while we have the Hawks playing 2 lanes. So they're going to be able to collect on a lot of this gold, look to double inhib, and then clean out the game with the top side, I assume.
The one other thing that I noticed from that replay that I didn't notice the first time around is the Abyssal Dives, the Tahm Kench ultimate. It was used almost immediately to eat Netsui so that they could just get them out of that fight. It wasn't an ideal situation, but Van is going pretty aggressive. Howlow and Ricky, you're pretty far up on your own, but now the side of the DFM, you're actually getting engaged on. It was a bait and switch, and now let's go in for it. Trigger has been popped. The Daredevil has got an S, but she has been swallowed by a Tahm Kench. But guess what? The front line is just doing it. Ricky was just on the front line going, hey guys, don't worry, I got everything, you guys don't have to worry about this. Tahm Kench has now been slain and now has been overtaken by the king himself. So low are the health bars of many Hawks members, but it doesn't matter. If you're not at 0, you're not dead. 3 for 0, well, 3 for 1 for the side of the Hawks. That Baron buff has well and truly been used in a rather strong 4.5k Baron play.
Maramo doing everything they could right there with the white and the green gun, putting out insane numbers to try and make it look even, honestly. As a 2-item Aphelios, just keep an eye on them. As soon as their red gun is done, they're going to hold their ground, and Van does astounding work here by just stopping the Samira reset. It means that this fight does not immediately swing out of DFM's favor. They actually eat them and throw them away as they're about to dive in. And now keep your eye on Maramo on this Aphelios. They are just going to kill from range. They don't ever get to last hit people here, but they keep them so low that you can't commit onto the tower anymore. You can't commit to going for the inhib. One more auto attack on 3 of those members are death. So it's the best case scenario for DFM. I say very hesitantly. It's not good, but it was better than it could have been. They could have got double inhib off of that Baron, but the fact that they don't means that you could at least try and hold on.
Yeah, and that 4,000 damage that you mentioned, that from Maramo, because he should have done that. And but at the same time, Howler had the opportunity to go for it. The problem is, Tahm Kench rightly identified it and picked them up and spat them as far away from the rest of the members of their team. So the Devil Trigger, the Daredevil herself, couldn't get all of the resets. The issue is, even though this Baron is gone, Hawks did a lot of setting up for this bot lane they've got set up. They're pushing. This turret is very low, and if Wasteland ever gets like an opportunity for like 10 seconds to do an auto or two with an empowered one through Victor, that's just gone. And Ricky's just playing the side lane. They are doing a 1-1-3 at the moment, but they're playing really well around their jungler, who's just kind of off the fog of war. Same thing with this Rel. They're just playing in the fog of war, so it's just like there's waves awkwardly coming in. Multiple members of DFM have to match it, because if there's ever an opportunity that is not equal, it's going to go very, very bad for them, and they might lose a turret. They might also lose multiple members. And
because of how stacked the gold is for Hawks in their favor, it means that even if DFM do go for a cheeky 4v5 on this bottom side, they're not innately favored.
But he couldn't do anything. Yeah, go for it.
Exactly. Ree just has, no, it's fine. Ree just has to hold the top side, because otherwise Ricky is going to end the game through inhib. They're trying here, but look at how safe these players are. The move speed, the Heartbreaker, you can't actually lock them down for long enough to kill them. Even onto this Samira, the only way you could catch them is with an Abyssal Dive from Fog of War, because they could just win wall the chains, say, no, actually, I don't want to be held still. And now, Hawks, they're going to be able to walk it to this dragon. Baron's up in 60 seconds. I feel like we're just going to get the run it back from the last time, and I don't think that we're going to get the Miracle Aphelios defense again.
It's gonna be even harder. You can already see the side of the Hawks. They reset really early for this, and only their jungler didn't reset because guess what? He's taking this Cloud Dragon, and now all the members of the Hawks come out, and the vision is going down. That Rel stole the plant. Like, hey, DFM, you ain't getting extra vision on this. We're gonna just be forcing you out. Natsui is trying to keep his jungle in some aspect, but guess what? You're not getting this Rift Herald. You're going to be losing probably a lot of your jungle, and I can't imagine much of this vision for DFM is going to be existing when this Baron does spawn in 10 seconds. Viego walking over. Samira also walking over. Important thing of note, Samira is 16, Aphelios is 13. This ultimate that Samira is going to do is going to be 10 times more deadly than what this Aphelios ultimate is at this moment, but if anything can turn it, it is a Thresh hook. They're looking for it. They're trying to find it, and they are going to remain as the front line at this moment in time. Van is going to be trying to find the opportunity with that Abyssal Dive. Hook missed everything at this moment in time, and the Hawks are just kind of playing around the vision. Howler getting very low, but there was no commitment from the side of DFM because guess what? They didn't have the vision on any of the members of the Hawks, and yes, while they saw Wasteland in the mid lane, they don't know where that Viego is, and he could have come out any moment, stun them, and look at how quickly the side of the Hawks are just taking it out. Yes, we saw the Rel, and that's great for DFM, but guess what? You don't have anything else. They still don't know 3,000, 2,000, 1,000. It's already gone. It's already gone. The TP's coming in though for Van, and let's see what they can do here. Huge damage coming out. The face breaker has been popped already. Howler though is going mad. Mental devil trigger pull. That's a double kill. That's a triple kill, and they're going to keep pushing forward. Ree, what can you do? I think that's the noise of your people. It's Ree, and everything's already all over and done. I couldn't help myself. I think that's all she wrote now, Melvin. Is all. DFM are running with their tails between their legs back to their fountain, back to their base, because the Hawks are just going to be knocking on their door.
I don't think a Thresh will be able to hold them off alone, so this will be the end of the game, and DFM going 0-2 on the day. Funnily enough, I do recollect DFM going 0-2 at some other point. Obviously, it was the main team, not the academy, but you know, maybe they could turn it around. But after 2 games like this, it doesn't look great for them starting off this week of academy.
It really doesn't. 4.5k Baron play at the very end. The Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming win their first game in the LJL 2021 Academy. It's a day number 1. Congratulations over to them. Commiserations over to DFM on a disappointing day 1. But yeah, 5. I feel like summer 2021. DFM came back from MSI. They didn't do too well at the first, and then they went on like a 14-win streak. We'll have to see how the DFM of Academy reigns out. They don't have that tenureship, though, that Utapon, Syros, and many members of DFM have on the side. Maybe we'll have to see Syros come in for the mid lane in one game and just do a Heimerdinger troll to just mess with everybody. We'll have to wait and see, ladies and gentlemen. But with that said, our next game coming up is going to be Burning Core returning to the Rift to face off against V3 Esports, one of the crown favorites to win the whole of this academy. But I'm going to be dropping out the desk. Middlecot's going to be coming in. We're getting the Melvin Cott duo. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. Back after this break.